Hi guys, well, welcome to my little ship presentation, I say. So these are all ships that didn't quite make it onto the Steam workshop, and it's basically a little bit of memory lane for me too. Starting from the right side, it's possibly the first ship I've ever made. I called it the Journey. It was my first experiment with having jump drives on the ship and just being able to move a little bit. I'm pretty sure this was my first spacefaring vehicle. Now, as you can see, it's pretty basic. You know, it's got a little bit of yeah, a UE thing going on coming through here. It's all sealed with catwalks, as I did not know how to properly seal the place yet at that stage. Put the lights on so you can see. I went with a really red bold color for some reason. And then yeah, just to the left side is where like more important stuff was. A whole bunch of jump drives. So which is obviously tucked in here. I can't remember if I made that all heavy armor or not. But I wanted it to be protected, but I mean now I know one layer of protection against the jump drive, not enough. But anyway, so initially, the I think it was just when like those jump missions came around, those cargo haul missions for the economy pack, for those economy missions, yeah. So I wanted a whole bunch of jump drives so I could do those missions real quick on a uh, on a on a multiplayer server. So yeah, and I mean obviously hydrogen tank is tucked in beneath here. So that's probably why I chose the catwalks. Is couldn't quite get it all. Oh, and I made it well, a large reactor in there too. Oh, I'm surprised, considering my first big ship, I managed to make it all. Okay, not too shabby. Okay, moving on next. This was. Hold on, sorry, trying to see the name. The Rogue Shadow that I took as inspiration from the Star Wars game. Obviously, was not as successful in my implementation of it. It looks good. No, it doesn't. It doesn't look good at all. I'm also very much the upside down. So, let's just quickly pop around to the front. I tried to get it to look like the ship, but eventually gave up and tried to go for my own thing. As you can see outside here, we had some seat-controlled turrets with access to some uh, living areas. So you would, if crew were in the living areas, they could immediately pop out and control the turrets. But I also had a script on, so this little turret, interior turret, is controlling the bigger one. So with automated turrets and so on. But I wanted the seat in there for if I ever had a crewmate and he could control the turrets. If only I made friends that easy. Okay, anyway, continuing on. Got some ions tucked in behind what I assumed was a blast door and heavy block shield from the sides, which, I mean, would do pretty good if I'm not attacked from the top or bottom, front or back. Okay, yeah, so it really only protected me from the right hand side. But it worked. We've got turrets splattered all over. Top, bottom. So right, top we got 2, 3, and a rocket turret. Not too shabby. Coming over to the front. Little catwalks, grated catwalks, leading into where the main seat is. But we won't go there just yet. Let's take it down to the entrance. I think here I started really playing with some of the mechanics of Space Engineers. So if I could just bring us up to this, so, and bring in my character. Ooh, got some weird hum coming up there. Okay. Okay. So this area pressurizes quite nicely. So I remember left and right being more copies. So you can come in here and your crewmate have access to the cargo, have a bed, have a quiet pod for longer journeys. If you went down, you could get to, let's turn the light on again, you could get to some small little fighters that would be able to fit in these hangar doors. So not the best of design, but they fit through the doors. That's all that mattered. Now, a little, not a tricky bit, but if you wanted to get to the upper sections, you would have to do that little jump. And this was a gravity elevator. So, just jumping, you could easily make your way up all the way. Coming into control of the Rogue Shadow. I won't go over too much of the functionality as, there's a lot to go over. Then when you walk down, your magnetic boots would take care of it all. But hold on, there's an extra door. So all you have to do is slightly jump up, if I do it right apparently. And gravity would come back. And now you're in the medical wing, where you can directly see the jump drives. Nice blue color. I gotta use that pattern again. That looks nice. But anyway, yeah, so we had a little medical place as well. Tried decorating. I like a side of decorating in my builds. But anyway, going back down, gravity immediately returns to normal, and you're a little bit lopsided. I do believe this is a pressurized area. Well, it is what it is. Next, we have the small shot. Let's quickly go over like this. Where is it? It's over there. Next, we have the small shot. So this ship was basically, I wanted a cheaper ship to build that could at least still fight on a PvP server. So obviously it's very front heavy loaded. Turrets on all sides with welders welding the front of each section. It would do pretty well in a fight, and a little rocket launcher in there. I loved these little pod things I was able to make out of the ions. I ended up doing them all over. It worked quite well for me. And then even a little place for a mining vessel of sorts to land and be locked onto. And then this is the first time I started experimenting with this kind of design on the back of my ships. I think that took up quite a lot of portion of my designs. But anyway, and then quickly spawning in the character, going in. All that there is really to speak of this one's into is, since this was more a basic small ship, it was really just this. You direct access to that. I believe this is covered by the blaster blocks and some heavy blocks. Space for remote controls. I think at some stage I could have sworn I had a design where there were beds in these ceilings, but not a thing anymore. So right now you're able to just pop in there. Not a bad ship to go headlong into battle for. Usually if I'm pressed for time or something for a fight or an event, this is the ship I'll be making. Okay, let's pop out again. Going over to the next one. This one, gotta check the name. Can't check the name. I think this was the pond hopper. Yeah, this was the pond hopper, wasn't it? Yeah, I did not name this one. Anyway, so very first time experimenting with this nice design that the blaster blocks can make on the side. Coming into a hangar area and then a small side entrance door. Coming to the front a whole bunch of ions and some hydrogen pushback with the access to the main cockpit. One sheet of glass in between you and some bullets, not the best. But at least it did have some top defense. And yeah, the plan was, if I had people on top, they could at least take some cover behind the walls. Never get there. Coming in slowly into our hangar area. We have our little hangar area where one small little miner could at least fit in. Going to the front, as you already know, is our seat, our pilot seat. And this was a pretty good, basic hauler, as it had, I believe, cargo and hydrogen in it. Then you access the doors to find another living area. I can't do without my living areas. Now I'm wondering, and it had one large cargo and a reactor and the 2 jump drives. So it was a pretty good starting vessel, if you wanted to do some traveling. And once again, I'm always pretend that I'm more than just myself. And have some extra beds, have some clothes, have some, place to live in. Yeah. And a little access highlighted hallway to get to the cargo area. Always worked well. And as you can tell, the area does pressurize quite quick and nicely. But then, let's just vent it all real quick. Beautiful. I got a commercial photo over there. Okay, next. So that was the puddle jumper. I do believe, yeah, next is the Scythe. I called it the Scythe. I liked it. So, continuing the blast door design that I really started to really like, and going a level in, getting a little fancy with my engines there, and then going further to the front of the ship, which did come out a little bit nice. I mean, this to me is a nice profile right there. Once again, it's not the biggest sort of ship. Only 3 turrets at the top, nothing at the bottom. All its defenses lied straight at the top, which can be a trouble in fight. Coming to the back to show quickly. Once again, I love this little cross thing that happens with that. Once again, we can see my little design that I do, trying to encase the whole engine. Obviously, just a little bit modified at the sides where the blast door blocks take it. And yeah, it was a nice ship to build. It didn't survive much of a fight though. The blast door blocks survived, but because of the low offense, I was outmatched. Coming up into the entrance for my character. Quick landing, close the door. So this was a little air compartment that I could use to depressurize as I was leaving the ship. That space for me to see. I could easily see out. I had my weapons and armor and gear that I could put on. Armor. And here we go. And this was the interior of a ship. Just as these little passageways came out. Coming all the way to the back would be a bed and a survival kit, where you could safely double secure yourself in, go to sleep, keep yourself really safe in case anything happened. Coming on forward would be controlling the Scythe. It was a pretty good ship. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed having it in its design, and it's really nimble. It's a really nimble ship. Okay. Heading on back. Let's do that again. Okay. Now this, I'm starting to remember, is the Tyrant Cruiser. So this is a battle cruiser type ship, not because of size, but because of its weight. So this ship is completely built out of heavy steel, heavy armor blocks, which, yeah, it's a relatively new ship as it has those armor plating pieces on the side. And it's just not going to see the workshop because one, it would be too expensive to make and work in survival or anything, and two, it's not quite finished. I gave up at the end, or wanted to move on to better things. But let's continue. So once again, we got this nice plus pattern that I've got going on, and now with the added extra plating, stepping. The nice little thing is like the step backs could have these, and once I realized that, I did think it was quite amazing. Coming out back to another step to a larger one where I was able to put a hanger in, and then a nice little double step back to be able to put more armor blocks to protect the main ion thrusters. Which also, these plates, you can really protect the iron thruster. I know they're only like a couple of shots, although I think the heavy plated ones are almost equal to a light armor block. Almost, not completely. But still, pretty good to have, because, you know, now we can finally cover up that thing for the most part. Then, the back of it doesn't look too bad. At the bottom we got that new mag lock, the big one. It works quite well. Coming on through, we have a nice profile of all the thrusters keeping us in the air. Oh, and these were also something that I was experimenting with on it. With the new smaller merge blocks, these could easily make little rockets that could shoot. Just take the hinge, as the hinge goes forward, it makes little missiles. It worked quite well. I was happy with it. And then yeah, each turret has its own little sunken in compartment to protect most of the turret, because if you come over here you can basically only seeing the top of the turret. Gives it much less of a body to aim at, but yeah, obviously if you're shooting from directly on top of it, it doesn't matter so much now, does it? Moving back to the side and coming to the forward space, this is the main cockpit area, front of the ship. Same thing happening with the large iron thruster protected by the plates. And then over here, just a quick divert to attention. So yes, there's like half blocks and plates and all built around here, but it does work once again really well, because here I've got half blocks and quarter blocks and so on, but inside, even right up against the thrusters, I can add extra plates. So these heavy armor plates really do help and make a difference. I keep forgetting to turn the lights on, I'm sorry guys. Okay, heading up, we see a nice little rib design and step design with the turrets. Later in the iteration, I did end up like ripping out some of his blocks and putting welded turrets in there, as I got into a fight and those turrets were just getting a little bit knocked, especially being right in front of the ship. Here we had our little custom turret again. I insist on being able to control it from a seat, in case, you know, you want to shoot it yourself. But as always, there is a little interior turret to make that a controlled auto turret. Coming back, we have a little bit more of a sunken space for these turrets, protected by blocks and an extra block. Extra turret on the back on the top of the thrusters. All along you can see the nice double effect you get with these plates is you can build your blocks and then right on top you can have a different color. It really does help in the larger perspective of it. Really like it. Okay, let's go back to the side where we have our little door painted the same and tucked in, and spawn in our character. Okay. Right here, the one thing I also like about the passage, because here if you make it a double passage, a double airlock, you can have one of the passage lights in there, and that light actually lights this up quite well. And then you get to, yeah, decompress it. So, hangar area, basic enough room to fly into, and then, you know, land one of your ships on either side. We had some protective glass just in case something manages to rip through all that armor into the hydrogen tanks and the reactors. Oh, and behind there would be the main cargo. So the thing that wasn't finished is probably the interior of the ship. A lot was more concentrated on the outside. Moving this way, we do see a little mock medical station unit with our medical, and then there's the access to the cargo, and a little couple of decorative blocks each in between. Here are warp drives, jump drives, all protected by armor glass on the inside. Could have been a mistake. I could have maybe rather gone and taken those away and put passengers and stuff there, which is probably what I should have done. Coming around here is a main command table. Can have a nice projection up there, and a vent to keep the area pressurized, and a jukebox. And then there is our main control seat. In the multiplayer universes, I did end up having a whole bunch of scripts here to help me navigate, or just a bunch of readings of the ship. Then here we go, the exterior control of the ship. So she's heavy, but the amount of thrusters still make her able to move, but she's a heavy girl. Yeah, she's a battle cruiser class just because of her weight alone, going over almost 6 million kilograms. Excuse me, 600. But as far as the weapons and so on go, probably not. She doesn't have as many weapons as a real battle cruiser would have. Small side notes, here on the side you can quickly go down and have a small little quarters. Once again, each design, I have to have these. I have to have at least a private quarters of some sort. Same happening on the other side of the ship over there. And yeah. So yeah guys, thank you very much for sticking around for that. Those are my couple of ships that just didn't quite make it into the Steam Workshop. Most of them just for either not being complete in one way or another, or not actually being tough in an actual fight. The only one I think did make it onto the workshop at some stage, but I took it off, was the small shot, because at the end of the day I felt it was working well for me and I'm selfish. But yeah, thank you very much guys, have a good one.